Hi, it's Cameron Reynolds, and in this video, we're gonna grow green beans and sweet corn, talk about spacing, bed preparation, and also our Earthway Seeder and logistics towards the end of the video. So let's get started. Before we begin planting, a little preparation goes a very long way in making it easier to plant, whether you're planting by hand, using an Earthway Seeder or anything else. And that's primarily what Josh is doing back there. And he's a little confused because it's quite cool this morning and he's wearing shorts. But some people think it's eternally summer or that it should be. I'm not one of those people, but anyhow, he is pulling out all of these clods of dirt and roots and dead matter from plants from last year's leftover garden. And this is going to be a problem, especially with our Earthway Seeder. I don't want to be dealing with this later. This can be thrown somewhere else. And these rocks, this is one of our biggest problems that we have in this area. This is one of our best beds that we have, some of the best soil on the farm. And we've pulled so much rock out of here. But after years of pulling rock out, it's gotten better and better each year. And we're going to continue to do that until one day we die, and then maybe somebody else will have a rock-free surface. Not likely. Now let's talk green beans. I love farm-grown green beans, and there's a massive difference between the nutritional quality of what you buy from the store in a can and what you can grow in your garden. The USDA did some research years ago, and the difference between homegrown green beans, nothing special done, just homegrown versus store-bought, was phenomenal in the amount of natural sugars, fibers, calcium, trace minerals, all the way down. There's just so many reasons to grow your own garden, not just to save money. Sometimes you can do that, but a lot of it is this is a way to help with your health. And green beans is one of those crops where it's a huge difference between what you grow and what you buy. Now let's talk about how we plant them. So I like a 6-inch spacing on my green beans. We're going to be planting them with our Earthway Seeder. We'll have to do a little bit of thinning, I'm sure. That's okay. Rather do a little thinning of the plants than to have big gaps in between where they didn't pop up. So we have fresh seed right here from Johnny's. I've had really good results with their seeds over the years, so I'm sure these will do very well. I've never tried Provider before. I've always used Blue Lake or Contender, but I've heard really good things about this variety. So we're going to have 2 rows in this 48-inch bed, and they're staggered out just a little bit, so there's plenty of sunlight, airflow, and one of the most important things is we have access to give them fertilizer a lot easier, foliar sprays, and maybe most importantly, sprays to prevent Mexican bean beetles and other pests, because there are many pests that really enjoy eating green beans. And there's several organic things that we can do, but we need to start doing it early and also make sure that we get the underside and the inside and outside of the plant and get good coverage. Let's get a little corny here and talk sweet corn. This variety is Ambrosia, and I've never tried it before, but it comes recommended for our area. The seed was gotten locally from guys that have used it locally. And I really think that this variety is going to work good for us. If it doesn't, I'm going to blame Josh or Eddie or maybe both of them because I hadn't picked this one out. However, there's a coating on it, and some of you may ask what that is. That's called Cap-10. You can look it up. It's supposed to help protect the seed. It's not supposed to get into the corn itself and it's a non-systemic fungicide. So it's supposed to help against your seeds rotting and that kind of thing. So we're going to give it a shot. There are some varieties that don't have that out there if you're looking for them. When it comes to sweet corn, there's a couple different measurements that you can go by. I'm going to do 2 rows, and I'm going to do 2 rows of the green beans as well in one of these 48-inch beds. And we're going to just kind of evenly bring those in. You'll see that here in a little bit. And for the corn, we're probably going to go 6 to 8 inches on spacing. And if that's with the drip irrigation system, they recommend a longer spacing from one plant to the next if you don't have the drip irrigation. So depending on your soil type, the irrigation that you have, and what you're going for, maybe the type of system you have, raised beds, anywhere between 6 inches to a foot apart. And then as far as depth goes, both green beans and corn, I'm going to be shooting for about 1 inch deep or so in this soil. This sweet corn right here is a heavy feeder, and beans require some feed as well. We're going to be fertilizing both of them, but one of the biggest shortcomings I see people do in their sweet corn crop is not apply enough fertilizer. Corn is a heavy nitrogen feeder, so we want to make sure once the corn's about 1 foot tall or so, we're starting to give it some feed and help it grow nice and tall, about 6 6.5 feet is what this variety gets. And we'll have plenty of sweet corn for our kids so that maybe we can save a few dollars on grocery bills. Here's hoping. Now let's talk about the Earthway Seeder. This is a simple tool that saves a lot of time, and it does a really good job on certain seeds and crops. So you've probably seen Josh back there. He's stringing things out to where he can make sure that the lines are straight. And I will tell you that if you have a pretty good eye, you actually don't have to have that with this tool. It does come with a little arm on the side that can gauge it and kind of mark the lines. But you know, Josh and I, we're two different people, if you haven't noticed. We're brothers from very different mothers, and he really wants things to be nice and straight, and I'm okay if the rows are just slightly crooked as long as production's still the same. That's perfectly fine. A string is really helpful if you're wanting to get things straight, and it's super cheap, so I recommend that. This Earthway Seeder, though, you just run it across the ground. It's got a few different features I want to show you. You have your hopper right here that holds your seeds, but you only want to fill it up to this line right here. Very easy to read. You have your seeder plates, and you also have this little boot here for when you're not using it, and you can just fold that down, and then you can just set it on the ground. And so that is a really nice little parking boot right there. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is get the seeds to the correct depth and get them covered and reduce labor. And this tool does a great job by first plowing a little area, a furrow, and you can adjust it up and down depending on the situation. I typically find that if I'm wanting to plant something an inch deep, I usually want to go just a little bit deeper than that with the type of soil that I have. It seems like I can't quite get that. I've used this in other areas at friends that are closer to Nashville, and it seems just to work a little bit differently in their soil. They have better soil than I do. So you'll need to kind of just watch for that, get it right where you need it for the specific type of seed. But this little plow area is going to create that gap in the soil. And then, of course, as the seed plate rotates, as the seed plate is designed, it is going to drop periodically. So for these beans, it's somewhere around 6 inches, 4 inches, somewhere in that area. And then this chain is going to pull the dirt back over the seeds, and this back wheel kind of packs it in there and gets nice contact. And all it needs is a little bit of rain or a little bit of watering, and you're good to go. Super simple tool, and it's very lightweight. I really love this tool. Let's talk about the seed plates. There's the green bean plate, and it works for peas and some other things as well. And then we have the sweet corn plate, which I'm going to be using next. Then there's the hemp plate. And then there's this pea plate, because there's multiple sizes of beans and peas. And so really peas, beans, and corn is really where this unit shines the best, in my opinion. Those bigger seeds, easier to fool with. It does a really good job with beets and okra as well. This is your beets and okra, Swiss chard plate right here. And then this is the spinach, radish, and all that kind of stuff. And those are a fairly decent sized seed. And if you have a really nice bed, one that has good tilth, that's still going to work really good for you. And then we have the lettuce, turnips, carrots, stuff like that. That's where I've really struggled to get this to work. But you can see the bed that I'm working with here, and this is better than it used to be. And so typically for a lot of those, especially the lettuce, we're going to just have those in plugs. But you'll find what works good for you. Honestly, this is worth it for me, just in the time savings alone and the back breaking of having to hoe a row. You know, sometimes you got to go hoe your own row. But with the Earthway Seeder, sometimes you don't have to. Let's put our seed plate onto our Earthway Seeder. You'll notice that there's these notches right here on each one of the plates, and down inside of the Earthway Seeder there is a receiving area for that houses the plate, and it is white, and it also has the grooves that fits right in there. So we're going to take the plate and slide it down in there, and you can see how it has fit right over there. Now we need to pull this backwards, and a lot of times you'll want to keep the wheel from turning. Put that all the way back and start twisting that back. There's a little notch, if they fit right down behind those, and you just kind of twist this into where it hits all the way up against there, and you're good to go. Now let's show you how easy it is to plant with this Earthway Seeder on green beans. It's not perfect for every crop, but green beans, sweet corn, stuff like that, it is great. And Josh down there is pulling out any rocks or any big fibrous material and keeping it out of the way so that we can do what we need to do. Nice and easy. It's covering the green bean up. And essentially what it's doing, it has a little plow at the bottom, and it's dropping seeds periodically with that seed plate. And then behind it, there's a chain that drags the soil back over. And then the wheel at the back that covers it a little bit more and packs it in. And it just does a really great job. And I'm not having to bend over and do all that. However, in the past, we've used a hoe that is trenched. Oh, see, we're getting some buildup right here. And there's just a little bit of a clump, and it was just getting clogged up in there. That happens from time to time. We haven't had a whole lot of those issues because Josh took the time to clear that out. So usually whenever that happens, it doesn't, you either get too much seed buildup in one spot or it stops for a second and misses. So I usually go back just a little bit. Usually this results in having to thin a couple more plants out of here, but that's okay. I'll take the chance. So we're just going to continue to go. And isn't that just nice? These aren't that expensive either, and they're built really well. I've used an Earthway Seeder for many years, and I've never had anything break on it. They've held up really good. Probably the biggest enemy of this is the sunlight, so just store it in a shed or in a building. But you can see there's really not a whole lot of beans that are sticking out of the ground. Occasionally there's one that is like this one, and this is where we can go back and we can take a rake and just lightly go like this and kind of level that out. You can of course do that by hand or with a hoe or something like that. But that's our green beans right there. We're expecting rain tomorrow. This is a great time to get these in the ground, and I'm really looking forward to a nice green bean harvest. So with the sweet corn, it's the same song, second verse. As you can see, it's just really easy to run this down the line. If you have your bed prepped a little bit better and not have all this buildup, this is where I run into problems, is having all of this kind of build up under here, and sometimes it gets underneath the plow or doesn't allow things to quite drop down as deep as it should be. But when it's working properly and the bed is prepped properly, you can just go so quickly, and 98% or more of these seeds are being covered and planted without us having to do any back-breaking work. We'll come back over here with a rake, and after I've messed up these lines a little bit so that Josh freaks out, hopefully we'll have some sweet corn to show you in the future. That was so easy, and I just like how simple it is planting with that Earthway Seeder. But over on the far side of the bed, we're gonna have sweet potatoes, then we're gonna have a row of zucchini and sweet potatoes. Of course, we have our green bean row, which is gonna be quite a bit of green beans, and then our 2 beds of corn, 2 rows of corn in each of those, so 4 total rows. Hopefully we'll do really good with that. Love sweet corn. And then this row right here is going to be flowers for my mother, sunflowers, zinnias, and a couple other things, because it's not just about food for your soul, it's also about food for the eye. I don't know. Well, there's got to be a poetic way of saying that. This is why Laurel doesn't find me super romantic. I've got to work on this. All jokes aside, I love being outdoors. I love springtime. It's not just about the health from growing your own food. It's about the health that you get from being outdoors, getting that real vitamin D, and getting to spend time talking about our gardening adventures together. We have way more to show you as things grow and develop, and we'll see you in those videos.